battle between DeWanna Bonner, Alyssa Thomas versus Asia Wilson. Question. Are we talking about three of the four most unlikable athletes that this league has to offer? Question mark? In one damn final?
It was widely anticipated that A'ja Wilson would dominate the second game of the WNBA Finals. She is the MVP, the league's golden star, and the public face of the Aces, isn't she? However, she was simply enraged by what she witnessed that evening. It wasn't the rowdy booths or boisterous supporters. No, the reverse was true. There are a lot of empty seats and quiet rows. The cameras were unable to detect any energy, and the entire arena seemed to be half sleeping. Wilson didn't mince words. Her frustration was simply erupting.
I got some bad news. Number one, I don't think none of y'all are doing any pre-WNBA prep. I don't think none of y'all are fired up for no games. None of that. In fact, I believe y'all don't care. I think y'all care about the drama around it. I do believe that, but I don't think you care about the events itself.
This is what people were saying then. Even in the murmurs of the locker room, A'ja was looking down on Caitlin Clark. Clark, the rookie sensation, wasn't even present at the finals, but her presence, or lack thereof, haunted the entire event, which made it crazy. Everyone knew the truth in their hearts. When Clark isn't playing, the crowd simply doesn't pay attention. It was an enormous wake-up call for A'ja Wilson, who is a true superstar. She came to see how easily notoriety may wane, even for the most successful people.
Ticket prices. Neither does anybody else. Wow. If ever there was proof that the Caitlin Clark fans / Fever fans are now the overwhelming majority of the fandom, look at ticket prices for finals.
The WNBA season's high point was anticipated to be this match, which was Game 2 of the championships. With A'ja Wilson at the height of her career, the league had been promoting this new era of women's basketball for 4 months while the Aces fought to retain their championship crown. However, it became painfully clear as the lights faded and the cameras panned across the stands. Not every seat was occupied. Tons of them were actually empty. Even the broadcasters appeared reluctant to zoom out too much, most likely because they were aware of what the internet was already witnessing. In essence, no one arrived.
Holy hell, there's $35 seats right there. Right there. Plenty of good seats available. $46, $42.
And here's the thing, social media turned vicious. Photos of those empty rows went viral with teasing captions in a matter of minutes. If you could even see a crowd, what was meant to be a titanic battle between Wilson's Aces and Alyssa Thomas's Suns suddenly appeared more like a friendly scrimmage. Not even the employees at the arena seemed interested in it. There was absolutely no championship spirit. They had cheer squads singing and music blaring from the speakers, but everything seemed hurried, as if the league was attempting to create excitement that the crowd didn't need. Wilson also sensed it. The adrenaline, the commotion, and the enthusiasm of the audience are what athletes thrive on. However, when she looked up and saw only expanses of gray seats that were empty, her passion transformed to sheer irritation. How could the result of months of preparation, a finals game, feel so meaningless? How is a league that says it is expanding still having trouble getting people to attend its main event?
Should scare the league to death. With DeWanna Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, and the Mercury in the finals against A'ja Wilson and the Aces, will you be locked in watching this series? Question mark. Yes or no? Hit the poll. 4% of brave souls said yes. 96% said hail to the no.
For A'ja Wilson, the entire circumstance was more than simply disheartening. For someone as intensely competitive as she is, it was embarrassing. However, the subsequent comparison was even more painful because earlier in the season, when Caitlin Clark played her home games for the Fever, social media was overflowing with images of completely sold-out arenas, tickets selling for hundreds of dollars online, and the entire arena floor trembling with excitement.
Guys, if the Fever and Caitlin Clark was playing in a finals game, let's say against the Mercury, with all that drama around there, would there be a single ticket less than $300? Now, I mean, honestly, a single ticket less than $300. I don't think so. I think you'd have courtside seats go for $5,000.
Therefore, the WNBA's greatest event of the year was unable to sell out despite the presence of the defending champions. The message was very apparent without Clark. The thrill simply vanished. Furthermore, everyone knew what was actually happening, despite their best efforts to remain upbeat and discuss important principles in top defense.
You are not invested. You are not interested in watching this BS transpire on your television set.
The league's ratings department was greatly alarmed when casual viewers realized Caitlin Clark wasn't playing and simply tuned out. The WNBA misjudged how soon fans had switched allegiance and truly overbroad its experienced players to win the championship. They had stopped following teams. They were staring at Caitlin Clark, and A.A. Wilson was struck with the realization like a lightning strike.
Caitlin Clark was playing. If she was in these finals along with the Fever, now you know why we conveniently did not hear anything about the ankle, blah, 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 and I won't be coming back until the season was basically over. The WNBA was very aware of what that was going to do to ticket prices, etc.
She truly ought to have been capable of managing this. She had the opportunity to demonstrate in the finals that she could attract an audience without the Indiana Ricky. But take a look at Wilson's face amid the arena's silence and all the empty seats. It was self-explanatory. You could see the irritation growing.
Wait to see the ratings for this? Because I did see where that semifinals game against the Aces and the Fever drew like 1.8 million viewers, I think, is what it was. Will they get half of that for this finals? Will they get half of the viewership for this finals?
All right, by the middle of the second quarter, Agile Wilson was visibly becoming increasingly agitated, and not only over the score, and there were cameras everywhere. The energy level was low. The audience simply wasn't paying attention, and she was missing shots. It felt like a tremendous effort to make every basket, and every timeout served as an unpleasant reminder that something significant was lacking from these finals. She hit her breaking point at that point. Wilson was shouting in frustration, slapping her towel down, and even making veiled jabs at the league's total fixation on Caitlin Clark, according to sources courtside. Her point was very apparent. She believed that the excitement surrounding Clark had entirely sucked away all of the attention. And pay attention, even during the championship run, Wilson had alluded to this frustration previously. She had discussed the media imbalance earlier in the season, stating that it was annoying to hear Clark's name in every interview. However, it struck differently this time. Her remarks were accentuated by the arena's quiet. She could point the finger at the fans, the marketers, or even the schedule, but she knew deep down that Clark had altered the WNBA for the better, and not always in a way that was advantageous to her. Her attitude was immediately picked up on social media. People began tweeting that the ADA was upset with the wrong person, or that Caitlin wasn't to fault because nobody wanted to watch these dull finals. The absurd thing is that, while Wilson was over here venting, Clark herself never once voiced any complaints about media pressure. It stood out sharply. While the other athletes seemed to win attention organically, the first one seemed to demand it. Wilson's emotions were incorporated into the overall plot as the game progressed. The fire and ferocity that broadcasters typically emphasized were not what fans observed. Every time the camera focused on her face following a poor call or a missed rebound, you could see how annoyed she was. She wasn't only fighting her foes. She was battling the invisible presence and ghost of Caitlin Clark's popularity. All night long, her name was trending on the internet even though Clark wasn't performing. Jokes about Clark outselling the finals without even being on the court were being made by fans. Even though it sounded harsh, it was completely true. For the WNBA's most important night, the rumors of someone sitting at home in Indianapolis were simply too much. That irony must have been intolerable for Wilson, who had dedicated her professional life to becoming one of the most influential people in women's basketball. The problem is that rage can actually cause blindness. Wilson's annoyance made the news, rather than her performance giving her a chance to win over new supporters. Viewers witnessed an athlete who was obviously upset, even though she was meant to be the league's elegant leader. Every grimace she made seemed to be motivated by the same notion as she continued to gaze at those empty chairs. Perhaps the supporters weren't the issue. They might have been merely copying the player who had given them new hope for the game. Therefore, Caitlin Clark ruled Game 2 like a ghost, even though she wasn't on the floor. The WNBA was unable to shake it. Every online conversation eventually included her name. Agile Wilson's displeasure was captured on camera, and the responses weren't about death or shooting percentages. No, Clark was the focus of them all. Items like, "This place would be packed if Caitlin were playing," were being written by fans. Or maybe, "This finals feels like pre-sin without her." To be honest, they were correct. The contrast between Clark's impact and what the league was providing at the time was strikingly obvious. Clark has transformed each and every location into a show during the regular season. All at once, fans who had never seen women's basketball before were filling venues, purchasing jerseys, and breaking previous TV ratings records. She brought belief in addition to attention. Furthermore, the league just disappeared in her absence because they appeared to be at such vulnerable times. It seemed as though Clark had taken the WNBA's pulse with her after the fever season concluded. Wilson was unable to deny the reality. For many years, she served as the league's spokesman. She was the epitome of reliability. She guided her team to titles and was a two-time MVP. However, none of that had the same cultural impact as the one rookie campaign run by Caitlin Clark. No superstar can truly cope with that kind of reality, particularly one as competitive as Wilson. Seeing the finals played to half-empty stadia while Clark's name was going viral online must have been painful for you personally. The league also did not assist. The WNBA had jumped all over Clark from the start, taking full use of her fame in the media. You could sense the resentment when more seasoned veterans like Wilson, Bonner, and Thomas were forced to the sidelines, whether they acknowledged it or not. Attendance was not the only source of the discontent that erupted in Game 2. It had to do with hierarchy. Wilson wasn't the focal point of the league's universe for the first time. Clark was. And that change fundamentally altered how WNBA players saw their own visibility. The elephant in the room was discreetly acknowledged even by the commentators. A finals without Clark feels like a lost chance. One commentator even went so far as to say, what everyone was thinking was revealed in a rare on-air admission. Fans weren't paying attention to numbers or tactics. They were seeking emotional connection, and at that moment, the league's greatest emotional attraction was merely waiting on the sidelines. Instead of a celebration, the evening concluded with questions. Did the WNBA anticipate what Clark had let loose? Given that its main attraction wasn't even participating in the final, could it possibly succeed? It was quite difficult for A.A. Wilson to accept such response. She has the ability to outscore everyone on the court. Of course. However, she was unable to eclipse the one player that night who, without ever touching the ball, had fundamentally altered the ecosystem of the league. And get this, the league received a quick and scathing response when it revealed its preliminary Game 2 viewership numbers. The viewership drastically decreased in comparison to Clark's semi-final match. People weren't only anticipating record highs. The reason for this was that the finals had indeed dropped to levels that resembled preseason shows. Disbelief erupted on social media. This only confirmed what many fans have been saying the entire season. In Clark's absence, the WNBA had nothing to maintain the excitement it had generated about her. The remarks were relentless on Twitter, TikTok, and Reddit. The league is in danger. This wasn't just a finals game, according to some. It served as a major wake-up call. Pride won't sustain the WNBA on its own. It requires genuine leadership, humility, and connection before all of the new followers that attend Caitlin Clark's show simply